Hey guys, what's up? This is Givenup 96, and here's a video I said I was gonna do a while ago. This is that review I said I was gonna be doing for The Burning. The Burning here is a film basically about this caretaker who's bullied by the kids. Has a practical joke played on him, and by playing this joke, he ends up burnt, disfigured, and becomes a killer, more or less. First things first about this movie that I think that we should clear the air from is this movie was made in 1981. The same year that Friday the 13th Part 2 came out. Friday the 13th Part 2 having the deformed killer Jason as the killer Bagface. That movie was released May 1st, 1981. This movie, released May 8th, 1981, has a killer who's deformed by fire that basically goes back to the camp and kills these kids, which I believe none of which were in the original, so it's not really a fully revenge towards the people who burned him, but towards everybody who's coming later. This film has a character named Cropsey, which in uptown New York, there is an urban legend about this psychotic killer named Cropsey. And funny enough, this film decided to take its killer right there and name him Cropsey, a camp caretaker who really could care less for the kids. Well, after it goes awry and the guy goes through multiple years of skin graft treatments, and he ends up looking like this. This film stars Jason Alexander, one of the stars of Seinfeld, way beforehand. He's actually he's a skinny dude, and he has like a full head of hair. It's really kind of cool seeing him in that light. Tom Savini, notable for doing the makeup for Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, directing the Night of the Living Dead remake, and doing the makeup for Friday the 13th, the original, did the makeup for this film. He's gone on stating that, as far as he was concerned, when he decided to jump on this film, which many people find to be a ripoff of Friday the 13th, I personally don't see it. I find this the much superior film. And to that, people might be like, oh my god, how can you say that the original Friday the 13th was nothing less than a masterpiece? Well, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying this story, to me, is better. To me, this is a much better film that has ideas that were not introduced in that Friday the 13th film, but were introduced in 2 through well, all the way back up to the remake, 2 through 10, Freddy vs. Jason, and the remake. This film kind of introduced that. It came out the same year. Harvey Weinstein, who produced this movie, which I will admit, he did so by wanting to cash in on this sleeper hit of Friday the 13th by having a revenge killer film. He also wanted to cash in on Halloween, so it's not just Friday the 13th. But This is about a killer camp counselor. Uh, Jason was a child whose mother worked for the camp. But anyway, enough with that. This film, like I said, guy gets burnt and comes back for his revenge. You have this really cool story about this guy who kills these kids with these hedge clippers. He's just wreaking havoc. Typical kids. You got the strong man, who I believe his name is Laser. It's just a great name. Laser is probably one of my favorite characters because, well, he gets an awesome death. Um, but basically, there's these kids that go out. The older kids get to go on this little island and camp out. Well, the younger kids stay behind. Well, it turns out that the canoes drifted off, and, well, there's nothing they can do. So a group of them has to go and get the canoes, which leads to the most brutal scene of this film. It's a scene that is utterly shocking. I don't want to give anything away, but it's definitely something you need to see for yourself. It comes out of nowhere and it takes you. It really does. Our hero in this film is our red herring, which happens a lot in horror movies. The red herring becomes the hero or the villain. But, well, it wouldn't be a red herring if he's a villain. So he is our red herring. And there's also the one camp counselor who trusts him, which is our other hero. Cropsy basically just wants to kill all these camp kids, just like Friday the 13th. I will say that many of these ideas are the same, but this film, in my opinion, delivered much better. It's a much creepier film. It has a better story. Don't get me wrong, Pamela Voorhees is awesome, but Cropsy is the much cooler killer. It's stereotypical, but seeing that it's from the early 80s, it's one of the movies that brought the tropes. And to me, this is one of those films you have to see to understand what I'm trying to get at. This killer is just an awesome madman. Tom Savini did wonderful with the special effects. A pair of hedge clippers as the murder weapon is just a fun idea. But literally, this is a bloodbath of a film, and to me, this is the camp slasher to beat all camp slashers as far as it goes to the original parts. This movie never got a sequel. Seeing it came out so close to the release of Friday the 13th Part 2, a lot of people just slept it off, didn't bother because I just saw Friday the 13th Part 2, why would I watch the same movie? And that's the ignorance in some of the 80s horror culture. Definitely recommend this film. I give this one easily a 7 to 8 out of 10. It screams cheesy 80s, but it's legitimately creepy. The fact that this character, Birth, was born out of fire, just like Freddy Krueger, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe Nightmare came out in 83? 84. So this character, people might be like, oh, he's just born of fire, he's Freddy Krueger. Kind of like Freddy Krueger, but with Jason's body. This is made before Nightmare on Elm Street. That's not to discredit Wes Craven's masterpiece, but it's just really interesting that they chose to make a killer to jump on the idea that in Friday the 13th, the killer's born of water, and they chose to born their killer out of fire. It's just a really cool idea to me. And like I say, this one to me just does it better, from just surprise kills to story. It's just more fun, more gore, and it feels like Harvey Weinstein and Miramax really blew this one right out of the park. And if you listen to Tom Savini talk about this film, he sounds very passionate about it, about how he saw this as being the next big thing after Friday the 13th, which sadly it didn't go anywhere because, well, Friday the 13th Part 2 came out the week beforehand. Miramax did not think when releasing this film they should have released it prior to Friday the 13th or way after. Prior to Friday the 13th Part 2 is what I mean. Or way after, because by releasing it within a week of Friday the 13th Part 2, it really put a nail in the coffin of this film's viewership. And it's one that I'm glad Scream Factory picked up, and I hope, against hope, that this video causes you guys, if you haven't watched it yet, to watch it. You might be like, oh, Friday the 13th ripoff, I don't want to see this at all. But you really need to see this. It's a 8 out of 10 film. Easily one of the best slashers in the 80s that no one really talks about. And you need to watch it. You need to see this guy kill, because I hate to say it, I'd love this film to get a remake, because getting no sequel fuel, I feel this film could breathe new life, well, get a breath of new life that from today's generation that the 80s wouldn't have. So check this out. Let's see what happens. Bye, guys.